NASA detected a mysterious object speeding toward Earth, and some actual bona fide experts think it might not be your typical space rock or maybe any kind of rock or a natural phenomenon at all.
Trusted mainstream sources tell us that 3I/ATLAS, the massive comet that arrived in our solar system last year from interstellar space, faded from sight and traveled away from our solar system, never to return again. However, thanks to recent insights from popular science educators like Neil deGrasse Tyson, it is believed that the massive comet has returned, bringing with it many other things yet to be explored. Why would he say this, and how does it change everything we knew about interstellar travel? Join us as we investigate the return of the Atlas Comet. Neil deGrasse Tyson and the Atlas Comet. August 27th was a turning point for experts at NASA and science educators like Neil deGrasse Tyson. The mysteries it unveiled about interstellar visitors changed many things we thought we knew about space, including the recent exploits and feedback from the dying Voyager 1.
NASA says its Voyager 1 probe, the most distant human-made object in the universe, is sending usable information to Earth again, after months of spouting gibberish.
But to understand why a widely trusted scientist like Neil would make such a bold claim about the Atlas Comet, we have to go back in time to October 2024, the month when one visitor from outer space appeared out of nowhere and almost went unnoticed by our best technologies. So without further ado, let's get to it. On the evening of October 12th, 2024, scientists working with the Hawaiian NASA-funded Comet Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, also known as Atlas, noticed something unusual traveling through the heavens. Led by astronomers John Tonry and Larry Deno from the senior faculty at the University of Hawaii, the experts at Atlas had a simple job: find all comets and asteroids headed for Earth and report all findings to the higher-ups at NASA. Over the years, they had done amazing things, such as predicting the 2022 WJ-1 comet before it hit Earth and locating the SN 2018 massive supernova, spotted several light years away from our solar system. But this time, things were a lot different. Not sure of what to make of this, the work was outsourced to the Minor Planet Center, and in a few hours, follow-up calculations showed that it wasn't bound like most comets and comets. The movement of this object was hyperbolic, implying that it was a visitor coming from interstellar space. But this is where it gets interesting. This object was moving too fast to remain in the solar system, implying that it was expected to pass our solar system once and never return again. The path it was taking showed that it came from the famous Hercules constellation, moving at almost 30 kilometers per second.
It's moving at a velocity of about 135,000 miles per hour, so it's going really fast. For that distance from the sun, this is really exceptional. You have to be an interstellar object to be going that fast at that distance from.
This type of thing had happened only twice before, once with Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. The Atlas Comet would mark the third time, and in less than a week, the world's attention would be brought to it. John Tonry and Larry Deno explained how they spotted it, and they did so by scanning the skies every 2 nights with 2 wide-field meter telescopes at Haleakala and Mauna Loa. According to John Tonry, his job was to protect Earth by finding comets and comets headed our way. But instead, he had captured a cosmic traveler from beyond the solar system. Karen Meach, an astronomer at the University of Hawaii who had been involved with studying Oumuamua and analyzing the Atlas Comet, also wrote the same thing. This other astronomer pointed out in her early notes and reports to NASA that studying this was a mission none of them had ever planned for. Kelly Fast, a program manager at NASA's Planetary Defense Office, believed it was a short and exciting discovery. But it's a shame we wouldn't have enough time to learn about it, as the speed of its movement would take it out of sight, never to return again. Now keep this in mind because it will be important in addressing what truly happened in July 2025. But for now, with Oumuamua as an example, when it appeared in 2017, astronomers couldn't know more about it, as it was already on its way out when it was spotted. Then it moved far away, never to be seen up close again. The same thing happened in 2019, except that Borisov was tracked for months before getting beyond close detection. But with the Atlas Comet, the astronomers were ready, and the big day came by late October when the Minor Planet Center gave it the official name that would be used by NASA, 3I/ATLAS. The number in the name was for showing it as the third known interstellar body discovered by NASA, while the suffix was given to honor the astronomers who found it. Excitement and curiosity within the science community were at an all-time high, with various astronomers from different institutes competing to learn more about this distant object before it went too far from our solar system. And by December 2024, independent astronomers were able to join the fray with high-quality backyard telescopes. They were able to capture faint images of the interstellar object moving away from the constellations of Hercules and Ophiuchus. By last year's Christmas Eve, the official narrative was set, and the Atlas Comet was marked for intense study. And as we shall see, subsequent observations were even more exciting: the purpose and origins of the comet. As the calendar turned to January 2025, most astronomers around the world were locked in on the latest visitor from interstellar space. At this point, the Atlas Comet had passed perihelion, swiftly traveling past the closest point to the Sun and slimming towards the orbit of Mars. At this point, it was bright enough to be tracked by cheap telescopes, and NASA was making plans to study it with the most advanced equipment the world could afford. This meant shifting the Hubble Space Telescope to observing only the Atlas Comet. Thanks to its highly advanced field camera, Hubble was able to capture faint but sharp images. And thanks to these images, it was discovered that the Atlas Comet was going through a modest coma, which meant that ice was rapidly evaporating from its surface as it moved too close to the Sun. This was a lot different from what was observed with Oumuamua, another interstellar object that displayed no such activity. The presence of vaporized ice meant that scientists could use spectroscopy to check for gases such as carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. This way, the experts would be able to know what the object was made of. To do this, they would need help from another telescope in the skies, the James Webb Telescope. With its infrared sensitivity, scientists had the best chance to examine the object's chemical fingerprints, and by late February, the telescope had shown results even more exciting. The composition showed organic molecules scientists believe were the ingredients for life that formed billions of years ago. This discovery brought back memories of finding similar organic chemistries from comets close by. This implied that different solar systems share a common link of prebiotic origins, giving a much deeper clue as to where life as we know it came from. With the building blocks of amino acids found on the surface of the Atlas Comet, the issue had gone far beyond ice and dust. This interstellar comet carried the basic chemical tools needed to form life. But that wasn't the interesting part. The Atlas Comet now shows us that Earth and its ability to produce life might not be as unique as we think. Rather, it shows that Earth is just one out of several celestial bodies with the ability to produce and sustain life. As for where it came from, the Atlas Comet was likely part of a large swarm of planetesimals. These are frozen comet-sized bodies that failed to grow into planets. It never became a planet or a moon, but became a leftover of failed rocks from another solar system's nursery. This was noted by Karen Meach of the University of Hawaii's Institute for Astronomy. She has worked on Borisov, and the chemicals found were cyanide and diatomic carbon in the gases. Now, with the Atlas Comet, researchers were seeing hints of the same story. Comets were the bringers of organic chemicals needed for life. So if comets like the Atlas Comet are rich in organic materials, then the interstellar comets may have carried the materials between systems. This theory is known as the Panspermia idea of life. Imagine fragments of traveling bodies wandering the galaxy for millions of years, finding the right young planet to crash on and start the chemistry that naturally leads to biology. With this in mind, science educators like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson have enough reason to believe that the Atlas Comet is a wandering interstellar body on its way to an unknown planet that has no life. Think of this heavenly body as an ancient traveling seed of biochemistry, formed billions of years ago in the outer edges of a distant solar system. It formed as a being of ice, dust, and carbon compounds formed from the leftovers of young planets. Then, it got tossed out by gravity and started drifting through the blackness of outer space. It traveled this way for millions of years, crossing the dangerous interstellar zones between solar systems and carrying the materials needed for life. Then, over 1 billion years later, the Atlas Comet enters a young solar system. And then, it gets caught in the orbit of a rocky planet filled with large rocks and intense volcanic activity. On this planet, there are vast oceans of lava with no oxygen or form of life. This planet has no water, but exists in the habitable zone of the young solar system. Now drawn by the pull of the red star, the Atlas Comet moves towards the lifeless world, and in a sudden flash of light, the heavenly body slammed into the surface of the planet. On the planet, it is like the mass extinction event that happened on Earth over 30 million years ago, except there is nothing alive to wipe out. Now here comes the twist: the future of the Atlas Comet. As scientists from NASA have pointed out, the frozen core of the Atlas Comet likely has complex organic molecules with fully formed amino acids, nucleobases, and simple sugars. When these chemicals are released into the barren planet's atmosphere and molten oceans, they react with the volcanic gases and shallow pools to form the primordial soup, having all the ingredients for life. Over time, these carbon compounds join to form polymers, and the lipid molecules form tiny bubbles that would later become cell membranes. These repeated chemical reactions would cause storms to rage and lava oceans to settle. By effect, the planet begins to cool. The random chemical experiments gradually become more structured. The surviving organic molecules begin to copy each other perfectly. Mutation and selection become the natural process. Out of chaos comes order, and just like that, what was once a barren rock begins to form the first forms of life. This would happen over billions of years, changing the lava oceans to massive aquatic systems teeming with life. Scientists believe it might surpass Earth with more stable climates, fewer extinction events like the one that killed the dinosaurs, and a much smoother climb of evolution. The most intelligent creatures on this planet would be smarter than humans ever were, and life would flourish in ways no human has ever dreamed of. This theory, brought forth by the experts at NASA, brought up a very disturbing possibility. What if comets, like the 3I/ATLAS, are the carriers of life across the galaxy, with each one being a seed traveling through the stars, waiting for the right soil? This means that the seeds of life on Earth and those on some distant planets orbiting a star in Hercules all come from the same source. This means that, strangely, if extraterrestrial life does exist, we are related to them, just as we are related to other life forms on Earth. After all, the building blocks of our cells and theirs all trace back to the frozen messengers like the Atlas Comet traveling through the stars. This belief is also known as the cosmic commonality hypothesis. This implies that if the sugars, amino acids, and hydrocarbons we see in the Atlas Comet are to be expected of many interstellar visitors, then every solar system gets the same starter kit needed to build a flourishing ecosystem. These organic tools could lead to life on Earth as we know it, or different forms of life that thrive in methane oceans and atmospheres we consider toxic. The possibilities are endless, but whatever emerges, the roots would still be like life on our planet in a broad sense, from the same molecules and shaped by the same cosmic process. As Neil deGrasse Tyson would say, we humans are not just figuratively, but literally stardust, and if this is true, so would every form of life that exists in this universe. So if Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson are correct in this one, the Atlas Comet is a frozen time capsule on a mission to establish life in an unknown galaxy far away. These theories were just a few out of several that excited the science community, so much so that by March 2025, the International Astronomical Union arranged an entire symposium in Vienna devoted entirely to interstellar objects. Dozens of these presentations were focused on the Atlas Comet. This was done because not everyone believed organic materials were on the surface. During that event, Karen Meach and her colleagues reported the color indices by showing the measurements of brightness through different filters on stage, illustrating how consistent they were with compounds rich in carbon. David Farnokia, another expert, presented orbital refinements, showing that the object wasn't pushed away from its parent system. So where was the parent system located, and which one was it? Using advanced AI tools for dynamical backtracking, one model pointed towards the Carina Sagittarius spiral arm region. This is a cluster containing about 30 billion stars. Doing this was tricky, given the way stars in the Milky Way move in very uncertain ways. So by April 2025, NASA announced that they would try to achieve the impossible by making plans to build a machine that could intercept the Atlas Comet. This was a wild dream on so many levels, even for NASA. The article felt so out of touch that many people thought the engineers at NASA were trying to pull an April Fool's joke on their website. But subsequent reports showed that the experts at NASA were quite serious about this, believing the massive body from interstellar space would never cross paths with our solar system ever again. By June, the day NASA dreaded since October came true. The day when the Atlas Comet faded out of reach from most telescopes. As it traveled beyond the orbit of Jupiter, only the most expensive telescopes on Earth could detect a faint image. It was during this time that Avi Loeb, never shy of making bold statements, argued in his June 2025 essay about galactic archaeology. His argument was that NASA should keep focusing on ways of exploring interstellar objects like this to unravel more clues about the true origins of life. On July 1st, the Atlas Comet passed beyond 6 astronomical units, being far enough to be unseen by the James Webb and Hubble telescopes. The last people to capture the light from the Atlas Comet were observers at Chile's Very Large Telescope. August 27th marked the end of humanity's close watch on the interstellar body, and the Atlas Comet faded into obscurity, never to be seen again. So with that established, why would a trusted scientist claim the massive rock traveling at such a high speed had returned? Well, as we know, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a well-known physicist and science educator. He has given lots of insights into interstellar objects such as Oumuamua. In the case of the Atlas Comet, by August 27th, after almost 2 months of total darkness in outer space, the James Webb Telescope had returned a trove of photons from the large rock. This marked the comet's sudden return to prominence on that day after several weeks of obscurity. What returned on August 27th were photons from the Atlas Comet, which are spectral fingerprints captured by the James Webb Telescope. Neil deGrasse Tyson says that it brought back memories of Oumuamua, whose elongated shape puzzled everyone in the science community. And while the plasma physicist is open to the idea of extraterrestrial life forming through the settling and placing of stardust material under the right conditions, he has also consistently pushed back against claims of the Atlas Comet being an alien probe. In this case, he believes the simplest explanations should come first, stating that the massive tick was likely a natural fragment of a distant planetary system that is shaped by forces we are yet to understand. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and in the case of the Atlas Comet, its return on the James Webb radar is nothing more than a final glimpse. According to Neil, Oumuamua was a postcard from another solar system, while Borisov was the second. Atlas, through the recent return to James Webb's radar, had finalized the third, and each one reminds us that our place in the universe is not unique. The materials that make up life on Earth are traceable to the materials found on the surface of the Atlas Comet. Even today, the debates are still ongoing on other details about the topic, But as far as Neil deGrasse Tyson is concerned, the first interstellar body found was a mystery, the second was a confirmation, and Atlas, being the third, was a pattern. And patterns, according to Neil, are where discoveries begin to flourish. And Atlas is just one out of many more to be found in the near future. So, what do you think? Is Neil deGrasse Tyson right about calling it a return, or was it overblown or out of place? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also, click on the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.